Good evening, world. I have the mayor. It's coming to what? Let's say 6:30 right now. Pizza's in the oven, so in a good 15 minutes, I'm gonna get my slices of pizza right upstairs. Bought my slices. I just it was a sick. I know, but I know I went a bit too far in the CFL. Like all you American players who play in the league, I went a bit too far. Yeah, man, you're a fucking dick, man. You hurt us. I know. You're wearing a mask, like you went a bit too far. I know I went far, but guys, man, you know about the buys. Yeah, we know about the buys. Yeah, man, this has been going on for 70 years, man. They lock the doors on all the best Canadian players, and they have you guys shine up here. But maybe there is a good reason why the CFL's doing this. Yeah, the reason why we do this, man, because we have to protect our league. We have no choice but to bring up these undrafted guys out. We can't have the best Canadian players be stars because they're not good enough. And that's why they've been bringing up the undrafted guys for decades and have them be the stars and legends up here, obviously. Yeah. Why? Who are the American players that CFL brings up here? Guys who went undrafted in the NCAA, like Div 1. They mainly bring the Div 1 guys. And maybe a few Div 2 guys, right? The guys who went undrafted in the NFL or who were cut from the NFL, obviously, yeah. Or who are on the practice roster, those are the guys they bring up here and they have them be the stars up here and they have them be the stars up here in Canada. People in Canada know nothing about, and they lock the doors on the best Canadian players in Canada who are drafting in the league, and they have those guys shut up here. Of course, that's funny, you know. We'll see if it does, obviously, right? Yeah. But maybe I'm wrong, man. Maybe there is even maybe the reason why the CFL, we have no choice, man. We have to grow the league this way because the Canadian players are not good enough. We have no choice but to bring the undrafted players from America. That's why we've been doing this for decades, Ivan. Yeah, but I told you, CFL, it's a very. If you want to do the CFL, you're growing your pro league in a very irregular way. Like no pro league grows a league this way, CFL. Obviously, it's a very weird way of growing a league. No pro league does this. All the best, all the star players in every pro football league are the draft picks, who are more known to the people of that country. But the CFL, they lock the doors on the CFL draft Canadian players, and they just bring up all these guys who are not draft picks. Like the American guys CFL brings up here, who they market on TSN are not draft picks. They're just American guys who they put on negotiation lists, and they just bring them up here. They're not draft picks, man. They're not the CFL's draft picks. Bo Levi Mitchell, Zach Caleros, Art Buckle, Bernard Adam Jr. Those guys are not draft picks, man. Yeah, man, those are the people who the CFL markets to the people of Canada, who the people of Canada know nothing about, and they wonder why the league's not growing. But I could be wrong. Maybe the Canadian talent doesn't make a difference, right? I could be wrong, right? Obviously. But there is obviously a bigger market with the Canadian talent. They're more known talent to the Canadian people. A good 50 to 80,000 people tune into the CFL draft, according to Google. I checked, obviously. 50 to 80,000 people in Canada tune into the CFL draft. So 50 to 80,000 people in Canada know all these draft picks got drafted. Obviously, and a lot of the Canadian football fans who watch the CFL, they know about the news. They look at the news too. When the players get drafted, they put the news, and all the football fans in university know the players got drafted. I don't think all the students in university know, but I know the football fans in university students know. Like thousands of fans know, obviously, these players got drafted. So there's a bigger market with the Canadian talent, but it won't make a difference, man. The quality will dip. I think the league revenue, league revenue could dip. I could be wrong because the Canadian players are more raw in the way they play, right? They're not supposedly good enough, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's great. Yeah, all the Hall of Famers in the CFL, who are mainly American guys, right, are players who never dreamed of playing here when they play football when they were kids. They're only legends in the league by default. And the Americans don't care about the CFL. No American players dream of playing the CFL when they were kids, but they just happen to be a legend here because they get their money. That's why they're here. Obviously, and those are the people who the CFL honors, and they have pictures of at the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. They honor those guys to the Canadian people. Yeah, it's cool. It's a success story, and I really do respect what these guys did up here. I really do. Obviously, I know the dream wasn't playing here, right? So it's weird to me, man. I can't wrestle with these American guys. That's why I can't take things seriously. Yeah, they honor all these American guys. Let's honor this CFL legend who passed for 50,000 yards, and the fans are cheering them on. They honor him. They love what that American player did. But the Canadian football fans are stupid, man. All the fans in the stadium and the Canadian football fans watching know that American player's dream was not playing here. They're just playing in the NFL. They're legends in the league they never wanted to play in, obviously. Like, none of the CFL American legends, who are most of the legends in CFL, ever dreamed of playing in your league CFL. These are the people who you market to the Canadian people and who you induct into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. So it's tough for me to take these. That's how I feel personally as a Canadian football fan. It's a bit weird, obviously. Some Canadian football fans, yeah, it's a bit weird, man. Like, we know they killed up here, but yeah, the dream's not playing here, man. They're here by default, right? It's weird. Do fans love them? Yeah, they do. They respect what they. Yeah, this quarterback passed for 50,000 yards. It's a huge success story. There are legends up here in Canada in the CFL, obviously, but I know this American football player, his dream was not playing here. The dream was not playing in the CFL. The dream was playing in the NFL. They're only legends here by default. They happen to be legends in the league they never dreamed of playing when they were kids. Like Matt Dunnigan, Anthony Garvido, Henry Burris, when they played football when they were kids, they never dreamed of being a legend in the CFL or playing in the CFL. They're only legends here by default. Otherwise, they never would have been legends here. So it's very good. Those are the people who the CFL honors and inducts in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Obviously. And it's very weird to me because no pro league is irregular and weird like this, obviously. Like, all of the legends in every pro league dream of playing in that league, but the CFL's not like that. All their legends are players who never dreamed of playing in that league. They're only legends in that league by default. They dreamed of playing in a different pro league, the NFL. They didn't dream of playing. American players don't care about the CFL. No American football player growing up dreams of being a legend in the CFL. No, they don't care about the CFL. They're only playing in the CFL because they didn't have an opportunity to play football in the South, in America. That's why they're playing in up north. So they're legends here by default, obviously. I mean, that's funny, I know. That's why it's weird to me, right? No, that's very weird. That's weird. Obviously. Yeah, my pizza's almost ready, guys. Yeah. Did you always find it weird? Yes, man. Ever since I watched CFL, when I was older, right, and they honor all these American guys, I always found it very weird, and I didn't really resonate with these guys. Yeah, I respect what they did up here, but I know these guys, their dream was not playing here. I'm not stupid. They're American players. Their dream was playing in the NFL. It's not playing in the CFL. They never dreamed of being CFL legends. They only happened to be CFL legends by default. Obviously, their dream was being NFL legends, not CFL legends. These are the people who the CFL inducts in the Canadian Football Fame and who they honor. The Canadian people. It's cool and everything. I respect what they did up here, but it's very weird to me, man. Like, their dream was not playing here, man. So it's a very weird, irregular way of growing a pro league, right? It's weird. Whereas the Canadian players, I know their dream was playing here, but I told you there's barely any Canadian football legends in the CFL. It's all these American guys. There's barely any Canadian stars. Except for the linemen, right? Quite a bit of linemen get inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, but the skill positions, there's barely any Canadian guys. It's all these American guys who CFL brings up here, who are here by default. Otherwise, they never would have been legends in the CFL. It's very weird. Oh, that's funny, I know. Food's almost ready, guys. Yeah. Ivan, do you think the Canadian talent is good enough? Yes, it's good enough, but when you compare it to the NFL, it's a letdown. It's not. It's not. It's a significant different quality, obviously. That's why the CFL. Yeah, we're not satisfied, Ivan. That's why the CFL does this because they envy. They obviously envy the NFL's talent pool. That's why they grab the undrafted guys. And they have them be the stars up here over our best Canadian players. Yeah, we're not going to let our best Canadian players shine up here in Canada when we can grab the undrafted guys from the States and have them be the stars up here. Because they're a bit better than our Canadian players. We're not going to have those guys not play pro football. Let's have those guys play pro football up here and close the doors on Canadian players because we believe the American guys are shining here because they're better, obviously. That's why the CFL does that. Yeah, I get that CFL, but if it's common sense. If you want to grow a pro league, you grow it with their draft picks. You don't grow it with undrafted players from a different country who are not from Canada. And this is not their league. Like, you don't grow the league that way. You grow it with your draft picks. But CFL obviously is the best way to grow the league is with the undrafted players from the States, American football players from the States, have to be stars here. It's very weird. No, I'm sorry, but we have to do that. But we have no choice. Canadian guys not good enough. We gotta protect our league, our investments, our sponsorships. We don't want this league flopping or tanking. We gotta bring up. That's why they bring up the American guys because they trust the American guys. They don't trust the Canadian. Yeah, we don't trust the Canadian guys. We trust the American guys. They're very talented. That's why we do this, Ivan. And maybe there are some Canadian football fans. Yeah, Ivan, you're a bit harsh on CFL. There's a reason why the CFL does this, Ivan. The Canadian players are not good enough, man. That's why they've been doing this for 7 years, Ivan. Like, the American players are the reason why the league has grown. I beg to differ because the league is only peaking at $300 million in revenue after like 7 years of history. So, for 7 years of history, the CFL should be doing at least $500+ million in revenue, not $300 million, right? And they're peaking at about $300 million in CFL this season. That's what they peak at. Yeah. Revenue, right? My food's almost ready. I'm going to soon stop talking about the CFL. Oh, your Super Rules are random. My Super Rules are entertaining, obviously. I mean, that's funny, I know. Yeah. I'm talking to you, CFL. I did want to go a bit too far. I was a bit, yeah, you went a bit too far, and man, like you embarrass us for the world to see, and you hurt these American players working on a league, Ivan. Yeah, I get that, CFL, but you've been hurting all these Canadian players for decades by locking all the doors on them. Giving all these American guys time to shine here. Like, how's that fair, CFL? I'm sorry, we have to do that. We have no choice. The Canadian players we draft are not good enough, Ivan. Obviously. They're just not good enough. That's why the CFL does that, obviously. That's funny, you know. You think there's some Canadian players who are on your side, who are not on your side? Maybe. There's some Canadian players who say, yeah, Ivan, I get it. Like, what the CFL's doing is cool, but maybe this is for the good, Ivan. We want this league to grow. We got to bring up the American guys because they're better players than us, but they put on more of a show, Ivan. Well, I highly doubt that. Chances are all the Canadian draft picks are on my side because they know about the buyers. They know the doors are locked on, but not stupid. As barely any of them are stars, right? They all play special teams, limited reps. They're all bust picks, obviously. All CFL drafts. Second, third, fourth, first round picks, bust picks, all bust picks. Yeah. Now, a few of them get to be stars, right? That's how it works. All right, if it's really that bad, yeah, like, go on Wikipedia. I went on Wikipedia and I looked at a few draft picks over the years who got drafted like 2012, 13, 14. I look a little bit at their history. They're all bust picks, man. It says like last time played pro football 2020, 2018, 2022. They just fade the distance. They just retire. They quit pro football because they're all bust picks. Because they know they have limited opportunities to be stars in the CFL because of the American bias, obviously. The doors are locked on the Canadian draft picks, and they open the doors on all these American guys that bring the CFL brings up here, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, give me some my food's ready, guys. My food. You guys on this show. Alright, sorry for the wait. Let's see, it's my pizza. I think there's some people who think you're wearing a mask. Obviously, yeah, man, you're wearing a mask, exposed to see all that, man. Like, what you did was cold, Ivan. Yeah, fine, I'm wearing a mask, but I don't think I am. The CFL does deserve to be exposed because they've been doing this for like 70 years of history. They lock all the doors on Canadian players and they just bring up all these American guys having to be started. We're not the draft picks, man, which I find very weird, right? Like Zach Caleros and Bully Guy Mitchell and Bernard Adam Jr. and all these guys in the CFL are not draft picks. They're not the CFL's draft picks. All these running backs and receivers and all stuff, they're amazing players, but they're not the CFL's draft picks, obviously. Except for Nathan Rourke. Nathan Rourke is a CFL draft pick. That's why for Nathan Rourke, I can resonate with him. I take him seriously. But the other quarterbacks are not draft picks, obviously. They're just guys the CFL just brings up here. From a different country, right? They put on a negotiation list. What the CFL does. Oh, that's funny, I know. So that's how the CFL brings the American guys. But yeah, they put players on negotiation lists in states. Who they're interested in, they just bring them up here. Yeah, they're not draft picks. They're just guys that just bring up here from the states, right? Different country. And the stars up here, they're over their own draft picks. It's very weird. Yeah. Yeah. Are most of the American players the CFL brings Div 1 guys? Yes. Yes. I'm not sure, but I believe most of the guys the CFL brings up here are the Div 1 guys, right? They barely get Div 3, Div 2. They get a few other guys from other divisions, but chances are most of the guys CFL brings up here are Div 1 AA, Div 1A guys who are undrafted in the NFL. Obviously. Or the NFL cuts, or like guys who are on the practice roster in the NFL, they bring those guys up here. And they're the stars over our best Canadian draft picks. They lock those on Canadian players. That's funny, I know. Very weird way of growing a pro league, right? No pro league does this thing. It's very weird. Well, the CFL barely markets Canadian players. No, because there's barely any Canadian stars, man. Yeah. All the guys they market on their websites, TSN, it's all the American guys they bring up here, man. Who no one in Canada knows anything about CFL when you market them. They're unfamiliar with the product you're trying to sell. Like, you market Bully Guy Mitchell, Zach Caleros, and all these guys. People in Canada don't know anything about these guys, man. They're from a different country. It's weird. But they rely on their talent to grow. Yeah, we don't care if they don't know anything about them, Ivan. They're talented. We rely on their talent to grow the league. Yeah, but that's a very weird way of growing the league, CFL. No league grows a league. It grows a league with players from different countries who are unknowns to their own country. It's a very weird way of growing the league, CFL. They're American players. People don't know anything about these guys, right? Maybe I'm wrong, guys. Maybe the reason why the CFL does is because we have no choice, Ivan. The Canadian player is not good enough. We have to bring up these guys, Ivan. That's why we do this. So we can grow the league. I could be wrong, right? That's why the CFL does this, obviously. Yeah. amazing. Why get slices, Ivan? Because it's cheaper. I didn't want to. I wanted to save more money, so I got slices. Only $13, right? Your wife says, did you always find it weird? Yes, ma'am. Obviously. I always found weird with these American players. Yeah, ma'am. Like, they interview them at the press conference, they're stars up here. But it always hit me. I'm like, yeah, like, why are all these American guys all the stars up here, and all these drop picks are not stars? And I figured out, yeah, they're not good enough. The CFL, they're good enough, obviously. And it was weird. I'm like, yeah, these guys at CFL who are stars at CFL are not the CFL's drop picks. They're just guys who they bring up here from the States who they put on a negotiation list. They just bring these guys up here. They're not drop picks. The guys they market on TSN, they're not drop picks. They're just guys they just bring up here from a different country. They put on a negotiation list. It's very weird. Yeah. They're not drop picks, right? Yeah. Wow, there's a CFL scout the American guys. No, they don't. That's why I find the way they're growing the league is very weird. They just choose a couple guys they know who won't make the NFL or a couple NFL camp. They just bring them up here because they know the American players are talented enough. That's why they don't scout them. Yeah, we know they're good enough, Ivan. We just pick up a few guys and we just bring them up here, and they have to be the stars up here in Canada, and then they lock the doors on the best Canadian players, obviously, who they actually studied film on and scouted. Obviously, it's very weird. Yeah. They don't study film of the American players because they don't. The CFL's not for the American players. They don't study film. The CFL doesn't study film of the American players. They know they're talented enough. They know we know they're talented. Even the undrafted guys are still amazing players. They're amazing players. We don't study from those guys either. They just like, yeah, players who didn't do that good at NCAA or undrafted. Those guys they bring up here. Players in the practice across the NFL, they bring those guys up here. NFL cut guys, they bring those guys up here. The undrafted NCAA guys, they bring those guys up here, and they have them be the stars in Canada and shine up here, and they lock the doors on the best Canadian players in Canada who are drop picks. Obviously, that's gold, I know. Yeah. Who people in Canada who saw got drafted. Like, they market him on TSN. They interview the drop picks, and barely those guys are stars. They lock it over on the best name players, and they bring up all these American guys, right? Oh, that's funny, I know. Yeah. I always find it weird. Like, yeah, these players are not drop picks. They're just guys to see who brings up here from a different country, who they have on a negotiation list, obviously. You need to make the NFL, right? Very weird. Yeah. They're not drop picks, man. Yeah. Why? Does the CFL know the American players' dreams not playing here? Of course they do. Not stupid, but they don't care. Yeah, we don't care if they're not playing here. When they become stars up here, they love the league. A lot of them will stay. I mean, I guess the CFL, but the dream's not playing here, man. It's playing in the NFL. They're only here because they didn't get their own league. That's why they're playing in your league. Otherwise, they never would have been playing in your league, right? That's why they're here, because these guys get their own team. That's why they're playing in your league, CFL. Duh. Yeah. You know why the CFL draft's not popular? Yes, because there isn't that big of a demand for football in Canada. And the CFL doesn't market it that well. The CFL draft, the CFL doesn't market that much. And the Canadian football fans in Canada are not stupid. They know the draft's a crapshoot. That's why a lot of them probably don't tune in. Obviously, they don't care about the draft because they know it's bullshit. They know all these draft picks are going to be bust picks. They're going to bring up all these American guys. Some of them don't tune in because they know it's point. Yeah, it's pointless for me to tune into the draft. It's all smoke and mirrors. Like half these guys are going to be bust picks. I'm not going to watch the draft. Not stupid, the Canadian football fans. They know it's a crapshoot. All the Canadian football fans in Canada know the CFL draft's a crapshoot, obviously. It's bullshit, right? Like all these players are bust picks, man. Barely any of them are stars. Yeah. I'm sorry, we draft them now, we give them opportunity to play football, but we have to close the doors of Miami. They're not talented enough. The quality will dip. We have to have the American guys shine up here. That's how we grow the league. This is what we do since the league started. We can't open the doors like Canadian players. They're not good enough. That's why they close the doors on the draft picks, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. Even first round picks are a bust. Yes, man. Even first round picks in CFL, most of those guys are bust picks. They'll have a not bad special team career, and they bounce around. A lot of first round picks even end up on the practice roster later in their career. They bounce around teams, limited reps, and they end up on the practice. The reason why a lot of Canadian players end up on the practice roster is because of the American bias, the rule. You have to start 7 Canadian players, and the rest of the American players, obviously. So when the Canadian players, the Canadian players only the Canadian players will only be able to play maybe special teams, obviously. And then they have, some of them sometimes they just put them on the practice roster because of the rule, obviously. The American guys have a bit of the edge of talent over the Canadian guys, and then also the rule, you have to start 7 Canadian players, and the rest of the players have to be the American guys. So they have limited opportunities. That's why a lot of them end up on the practice roster because of the rule. They only start 7 Canadian players, and the rest they get. Some of the draft picks end up on the practice roster. Obviously, yeah. But maybe there's a reason. Yeah, Ivan, man. I know it's cold, Ivan, but the reason why the CFL does this, Ivan, the Canadian players are not good enough, man. That's why they do this, Ivan. You have to understand. For the sake of the Canadian Football League, they have to do this, Ivan. The Canadian players are not good enough. That's why the CFL does this. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that's why they do it, right? But I just find it a very weird way of growing a league. Like, no pro league grows league this way. Now, no pro league drafts the best players from the country and just bring up a bunch of guys from a different country who are not draft players and have them be the stars up here. Or don't drop them. No pro league grows league that way. But the CFL obviously does that because they're weird, obviously. It's a weird pro league, obviously. American football players are not dropping CFL. Ugh. That's funny, I know. Yeah. Would the best Canadian players put on a show? Yes, they would, but it's not like the Americans, right? Yeah, it's not. We're not satisfied with it. The best Canadian players that do put on a show. I've seen many CFL draft prospects highlights, and it's good quality, but like it's not like the Americans. They look a bit more raw in the way they play. It's good quality, but when you compare it to the American guys, it's not as good. CFL's not. Yeah, we're not satisfied with the quality of it. It's not good enough for pro football. That's why we bring up the American guys. We have no choice, Ivan. We have to do this. They're not talented enough, Ivan. We draft the best players that way. Some they get opportunity to play pro football, but we're going to close doors on them. They're not going to be stars for Ivan. We have to have the American guys shut up here, Ivan. They're the ones that put on amazing quality football, better than the Canadians. That's why they bring up all the American guys. I mean, that's cool. I know. Yeah. Yeah. So like with the American players, you always have that. Yeah, like with the American players in the CFL, I always had that thought. Yeah, I can't resonate with these guys. I know their dream's not playing here, man. They do press conferences. I can't resonate with the American players. I know their dream was not playing here, man. Even though some of them stay up here, I know this was not their dream. So it's tough for me to resonate with these guys. I know their dream. They're only playing here by default, right? Their dream's not playing in the CFL. And these are the people who the CFL honors as legends in their league. Players who never dreamed of playing in their league. So it's weird to me, obviously. It's very weird we're going to league. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. I know how you can evolve, but for me personally, it's a bit weird, obviously. It's irregular and a weird way of growing the league and marketing your legends to the fans. Like no league is like this, right? Like every player in every pro league dreams of playing in that league when they become legends, but the CFL is not like that. Like all the legends never dreamed of playing in the CFL. They dream of playing in the NFL. They're only playing in the CFL because of by default, right? Yeah. 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 All the American football players, who, even though the dream was not played in the CFL, if they become legends up here, it's still a success, obviously. It's a major success, obviously. Not the success of the NFL legend, but you can become a CFL legend here, it's still a success, but even though they killed up here and everything, I know they're only legends here by default. Their dream was not playing here, man. That's why I can't resonate with American guys. It's weird to me, though. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what. Yeah, all the legends in the CFL are guys the CFL just grabs from the states. They're not draft picks. They're just guys they just grab from the states. Like guys who are undrafted, guys in the practice roster, NFL cuts. They just grab all these guys up here. Like it's very weird, and some of them happen to kill it in the league, and then they honor these guys as legends in the league, obviously. Well, I know the dream was not playing here. It's a very weird way of going on, and that's weird. Instead of your own Canadian draft picks here, well, it's a very weird way of going to the league. Yeah, that's weird. I know it's funny. Yeah. Because the CFL doesn't scout the American players. They don't scout the American players. They don't scout them, no. Or maybe a little bit. They just like look at a few guys and they just put them on a negotiation list. And they just bring a bunch of guys up here, obviously. And some of them happen to kill up here to be legends, but it's a very weird way of growing the league. Instead of their own draft picks. It's a weird way of growing the league. When they never want to be your CFL, they're only here by default. And their dream was not playing in your league CFL. Very irregular, weird way of growing the league. No pro league grows the league this way, man. It's very weird. I'm sorry, we have no choice. We have to do that. These Canadian players are not good enough. That's why we have to bring up all these American guys. They don't like the Canadian players. Yeah, we don't like the Canadian players. We may be Canadian, we don't like the Canadian players. They also just shine up here. The undrafted guys are shining here because they're better than the best Canadian players. That's why they think the American guys are shining here. Yeah, we're not going to have the best Canadian players shine in the CFL. The quality's not as good, and then have all these undrafted guys have nowhere else to play pro football. No. We're going to close those our best Canadian players. We're going to bring up all these undrafted guys that have a shot up here. Because they're a bit better than our best Canadian players. That's why they do that, obviously. And they put on more, we put on more show. It's higher quality football, almost as good as the NFL. Not NFL quality, but almost as good as the NFL. That's why CFL does that. Yeah. Because they know the undrafted American players are a bit better than our best Canadian players, obviously. A bit better, obviously. Well, they bring up those guys. Yeah. 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 I mean, that's funny, I know. Jeez, Ivan, holy shit, I didn't know it was that bad in your contract. Yeah, BJ. Yeah, the only professional pro league that has this issue, they have a bias towards talent from different countries. Because I know why. The CFL is obviously envious of the NFL's talent pool. That's why they have that. But yeah, I'm sorry, we're envious of it, man. We're not going to have our best Canadian players shine here and have all these undrafted players not play pro football, and these Canadian guys are going to shine over the American guys who are undrafted a bit better than them. No. Those guys are going to shine up here and close over the best names. Yeah, I get that, CFL, but they're not your draft pick CFL. They're undrafted players from a different country who are the stars up here. They're not your draft pick CFL. And you wonder why league's not growing, right? And you market them to people in Canada when you know nothing about these guys, and you hope your league grows. You don't know anything about these American guys you bring up here when you market them on TSA. You don't know anything about these guys, man. They're players from different countries. They're not familiar with the product you're trying to sell. Yeah, I don't know who the fuck this quarterback is, who this running back is. I don't know anything about these guys, man, because they're not from here. They're American. They're from a different country. The CFL somehow suspects their league to grow by them putting on a show, but no one knows anything about these guys, right? It's very weird. Obviously. Yeah. I even when players are about to hit a milestone, they do like a dog. Yeah, they'll do a video. I remember when um receiver hits like 10,000 yards receiving in their career, 11,000 yards as a receiver. They'll do like this documentary. And they talk to this other receiver whose record they're about to break, and they talk about their career and everything. It's cool and everything, and I respect what they're doing. But I know these American guys' dream was not playing here, man. They're only legends in the CFL by default. Their dream was not playing here when they were kids. They just happened to be a legend in the league that I never dreamed of playing in by default. So it's very weird. Like their dream was not playing in the CFL or being a CFL legend when they were kids. The American football players don't care about the CFL. CFL's an afterthought. They don't care about the CFL, the American football players. Obviously, to honor this legendary receiver, he received for 11,000 yards. Let's honor this man. They honor him and everything. Yeah, it's cool CFL. I get it, but I know their dream was not playing in CFL. They're only in your league by default. Otherwise, they never would have been legends in your league. So it's very weird. Like you're honoring these guys, the Canadian people. It's cool, and I respect that. But like, I know their dream was not playing here. They're only in your league by default, so it's like it's very weird, obviously. Yeah. That's when they do documentaries about the CFL and everything. None of them say when they grew up they dreamed of being a CFL legend. No, they don't say that. They just say they had an opportunity to play football up north. Their dream was playing in the NFL, but they had an opportunity to play football up north. That's what they all say. They don't. They can't lie. They don't want to disrespect the CFL. They're American players. Their dreams not playing in the CFL. CFL's the guy. We don't care, man. Even though their dreams not playing here, they stayed here. The fans love them. They grew lovely. I get that CFL, but their dream is not playing in the CFL. These are all your legends, man. Players who never dreamed of playing in your league, right? So it's like it's tough for me to take them seriously. It's very weird to me personally, right? Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it's weird, man. Oh, I'm saying that's weird. That's funny. I know. It's very weird. I think I'm gonna stop talking about the CFL. I mean, was a thing I know, but I'm gonna change the topic, right? I think I'm talking about the CFL, right? Yeah. And then I have 2 beers left. Yeah. We're gonna decide. I'm gonna watch show with you guys, and after that, I don't know. I might make another video. I don't know, or I might watch stuff on YouTube. Yeah. Why do they honor Canadian football players in the CFL who are legends? Yeah, they do, but it's very rare, man. All the legends, no, man. All the legends are all the American guys, man. There's barely any Canadian legends because they close the doors on the Canadian players. It's very rare for a Canadian player to be a star in the CFL. So all the legends are all these American guys. Who you guys are not about doing? Those are all the legends of the CFL, obviously. Some works, right? That's why you find it weird. Yes, because I know all the CFL legends, even though they killed up here, I know the dream was not playing here, man. These are the people who they honor and they have at the Canadian Football Hall of Fame hall and everything. Yeah, they have a Canadian Football Hall of Fame hall, and they have all the what is it, the faces of the Hall of Famers. All these American guys. Yeah, it's cool they killed up here, but I know their dream was not playing in the CFL. They're only in Legends and League by default. The dream was not playing in the CFL. The dream was playing in the NFL. They're only here by default, so it's very weird, and I can't take them seriously, obviously. Yeah. Honor this legendary player, you know what I'm saying? And they honor him. I know that American player's dream was not playing here, man. When they were kids, they dreamed of playing the NFL. They didn't care about the CFL when they were kids. They only happen to be legends here by default, so it's very weird to me personally, right? But they're legends by default. Because they ever do, that's why they're legends here up north. Obviously. And those are the people who the CFL honors, the Canadian people. So for me personally, it's weird. A very irregular weird way of going for a poorly guy. That's funny, I know. Whereas for Canadian players, it's not weird like that. Like, they're from Canada. They're not legends by default. No, their dream is actually playing in the CFL. That's their dream. The dream is playing in the CFL, the best Canadian players in Canada. Their dream is playing in the CFL. And they're from Canada. They're not players from a different country. They're Canadian, and their homegrown town. Their dream is playing in the CFL. The American guys, it's not like that. The dream is none of the American football legends in the CFL. Their dream is playing in the CFL. Their dream is playing in the NFL. They're only legends in the CFL by default. Obviously. Their dream's not playing in the CFL. CFL's the guy. We don't care, man. Like, they stayed here. The fans are like, I get on CFL, but it's a very weird way of going to league. All your legends are guys who never dreamed of playing your league, man. These are people who you inducted in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, in your building, in your hall, and everything. You know what I'm saying? It's weird, man. It's a very weird way of growing a pro league CFL. No pro league grows league this way. It's a very irregular way of growing a pro league CFL. Me personally, I'm sorry, man. We have no choice. We have to grow the league this way, man. The Canadian players are not good enough. Maybe that's why it's CFL's. But yeah, even though it's a bit irregular and it's weird, we have no choice. We have to bring the undrafted guys from the States and have the stars of it because the Canadian guys are not good enough. So if I keep saying CFL, if you want these undrafted American players to be your stars, you have no choice but to market the Canadian people. You say, yeah, we know that. You have to market them, man. You have to market them on TSN. You have to market them to the Canadian people. Players who people kind of know nothing about, man. They're not from your CFL. They're from a different country in the States. Ugh. Yeah, it's weird. That's funny, I know. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe the Canadian talent, even know what the CFL's doing is irregular and weird, obviously. This is the only way they can grow the league, man. The Canadian players are just not good enough. That's why the CFL does this. They just grab players from the States, put them on negotiation lists, bring these guys up and have these stars. The Canadian players not good enough. Yeah, but I find it very weird that all the star players in the CFL are players that the CFL the CFL never drafted, they never really studied film on. They're just guys they just grabbed from the States. And they just happen to be the stars over there. They're not the draft picks. So I find it weird, obviously. These are people who they market on TSN as stars. Instead of their more known Canadian draft picks. It's very weird, obviously. Like, the NFL doesn't do that, right? All the star players in the NFL are the draft picks who are drafted into the league. CFL's not like that. They draft the best players in Canada, but they choose to close the doors on them, and they just bring up all these guys from the States and they put them on negotiation lists. And they're not draft picks. They're just guys they bring up here. And they have them be the stars. They're not the CFL's draft picks. They're just guys who they just bring up here from the States, obviously. It's very weird. You never want to be a CFL and whose dream is not playing, like we said, right? Well, I could be wrong. Maybe the American talent is the way to go, and that's the best way to grow the league. Obviously. And all you American CFL players playing the CFL, I know I'm a dick. You're a fucking dick, man. You hurt us. I know I hurt you guys. I know I went too far. But you gotta admit, man, my videos were funny, right? Yeah, I mean, that was funny, man. Yeah, I done it loud too. I know it's funny. So, yeah. I hope the grows, man. Maybe the American talent is the way to go. All you American players are going to CFL. That's why you guys are stars. That's why the league lost those like Canadian players, obviously. Anyways, guys, this is where I hope you guys will show. I'm around saying out peace. I around saying out peace. Peace out, guys. We guys will show.